Hey everyone, got a special review for you this time. I wanted to do something a little different and review a good indie game rather than just another AAA title that came out 5 or 6 years ago. So I did a little research to find the best independent game of 2015, and according to something called the Game Awards, sounds legit, the best indie game was, let's see here, Rocket League. Well, this seems like as good an excuse as any to step away from my computer for a little bit and try this game out on my TV, thanks to the Steam controller! So Rocket League is a multiplayer soccer or football game, depending on where you live, but the twist is you don't control some biped avatar running around a grassy field trying not to get kicked in the balls. Instead, you're in a nitro-boosted car punting around a giant sphere. Teams try to get the ball into the other player's goal, block shots on their own goal, and generally just drive around hitting things until the team with the most goals wins. The controls are fairly easy, but the game itself has a bit of a learning curve. Once you're over that and you learn to mute the other players screaming at you, it becomes a bit... What? Oh, right, game. So the gameplay is pretty basic, and with a little practice you'll find a playstyle that suits you, whether it's driving around ramming the other team, playing defense, or just punting the ball between your teammates. There's some decent customization options, so you can pimp your ride, as the kids say, and engage in ranked matches to advance your ranking amongst friends and global players.
Board.
What? According to this message I just received on my phone, the Game Awards of 2015 were provably wrong, and the best independent game of 2015 was Undertale. Oh, thank God, this means I can go back to my computer. There we go. So who would have expected one of the most memorable games of 2015 to be a small indie JRPG-style game like this, and a successful Kickstarter project no less? Before we begin, I should say that this game is best experienced knowing as little as possible, so I will keep spoilers light until later in the video. Undertale seems like a very simple game at first, both in the story and art design. The player controls a human child of non-specified gender who has fallen into the realm of monsters, long ago sealed underground by magic. The underground is full of puzzles, traps, and dangers, and the only way out is through the Monster King, who has been trying to shatter the barrier, keeping his subjects trapped by collecting 7 human souls. And he has 6. The game plays like a throwback to the 8 and 16-bit era of RPGs, with the 4-command turn-based combat, but there's a bit of a twist. On the monster's turn, you have to dodge their attacks in a kind of mini bullet hell game. On your turn, you can fight or act, which varies depending on what you're fighting, and opens up the game's most interesting mechanic, mercy. What sets Undertale apart from other RPGs is it makes a strong case for you not to kill your opponents, and instead to spare them. Sometimes you have to fight them to near death to do this, but most of the time you can just use the act options to find a way to pacify them, or at least weaken their attacks. If you're not a fan of low resolution and pixel art, Undertale's art design might be a deal breaker. Like I said, the game is steeped in its 8 and 16-bit origins, which means you're not getting any fancy graphics. That's not to say the game art is bad, but it does vary wildly. A lot of the character designs are memorable, but some are weird. The style carries over to the music as well, but similar to the art, it starts to evolve over the course of the game. Simple pixelated corridors and deliberately annoying music give way to beautiful arrangements that incorporate multiple instrument layers and detailed background art. What really sells Undertale isn't so much the gameplay, memorable as it is, but the writing and characters. If you choose to go a more peaceful route through the game, you might end up befriending some of the monsters who were trying to kill you. The writing and dialogue is colorful and funny, which helps throw you off when the game suddenly gets serious. At times I got really absorbed in the characters, motivations, and backstory, and I don't think I'll be forgetting the impact the game's endings had on me. And yes, I said endings. Multiple. That's as much as I can talk about without getting further into spoiler territory, and it's best to go in as blind as possible, but I really do recommend giving Undertale a try. You can spend $10 on far worse games after all, but if you're still not convinced, let me talk about what I really love about Undertale. For a start, the characters and writing are way too much fun. I played Undertale at the same time I was playing Fallout 4, and even though I liked a couple of characters from Fallout, the Undertale cast are much more fun and quotable. Sure, there are some goofy designs and nonsensical monsters. Sundaro Plane, really? 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 But the main cast imbue the story with a lot of personality and color, from the bickering skeleton siblings, Sans and Papyrus, to the, shall we say, enthusiastic Undyne. This is why I don't think I'll ever have the heart to do the murder-happy, bad kid/genocide run of the game. And that's not just because I know I'd get my ass handed to me by the secret final boss with the awesome music. I can count the games I've gotten emotionally invested in on one hand, but Undertale may be the only game to really make me tear up. Maybe it's because I finished it around the time there was a death in my family, but finishing the true pacifist run of the game hit me hard. The only game that came close before that was Mass Effect 3 and its own spate of character deaths. There are some tropes and ideas at the heart of Undertale that makes it a deconstruction of JRPG-style games. At its core is the concept of the save file, which is something we've all become used to in video games since the early PC and 8-bit era. While the game will let you save at certain checkpoints and let you reset back to the beginning whenever you want, the game secretly keeps tabs of what you've done. Characters may respond differently or make comments about deja vu, even if you make a mistake and go back to an earlier save state. The game remembers what's happened before. It's actually an interesting commentary on games as a whole. Even in games where you're just a normal person with no special powers, you always have the ability to save and restore your game. If you step back and look at it, you're talking about the ability to alter time and space while keeping the knowledge and memories without consequence.
How did you escape my evil death labyrinth?
Well, sure, it was a little tricky at first. Just use some trial and error. It was no big deal. Only died 12 times.
What?
I can't say much more without delving into real spoiler territory, but it's a fantastic take on what we all consider an ordinary gameplay mechanic. On top of that, the game is just good, simple fun, easy to play, and just the right level of difficulty. I end up hitting a few walls in the game when facing some of the later boss fights, but I was, shall we say, determined to see it through, and it was so satisfying to finally succeed. Again, I cannot recommend this game enough, especially for the dirt cheap price tag of $10. Gamers who aren't as well versed in the style of JRPGs may not enjoy it quite as much, but if you've ever played an older Final Fantasy game, Earthbound, or even something made with RPG Maker, Undertale will definitely appeal to you. So as before, I'm Dax, and this is what I've been playing. Oh, and I don't actually have anything against Rocket League. It's a very well-made game, and I could see it being fun with a group of friends. It's just, I'm not really into sports-style games, and I wouldn't even own a copy if I had been given a free one with my Steam controller.